Hello and welcome to the Poultry Health Research Network here at the University of Guelph. I'm Ryan Snyder, the coordinator, and I'll be your host today. Today you're going to see an interview from one of our graduate students who's working on poultry research right here at the university. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to the Poultry Health Research Network. Today we've got Isabelle Kwon and we're going to be talking about some of her work. Welcome.
Thank you.
So how did you become involved with poultry health and research here at the University of Guelph?
So during my second year of undergrad here at Guelph, I applied for a work study position under Dr. Alexandra Harlender. So she's a professor at the Department of Animal Biosciences studying poultry behavior and welfare. So I started off kind of just doing a lot of data entry and video analysis work of laying hen behavior, and from there I just kept working for her full-time throughout the summers and coming back and eventually doing a fourth year research project with her as well. And then now I'm in my first year of vet school, so I'm just back for one final summer with her and doing my own project this time around.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so you're a DVM student and you've done some work with the Harlender lab. Tell us about your project, your fourth year thesis project.
My fourth year thesis project from last year, so it was looking at the issue of feather pecking in laying hens. So when hens on farms start to peck at each other, pull out their feathers, and in the worst case scenarios it can lead to cannibalism, which is obviously a severe welfare issue and an issue for the farmers themselves as well. So in the Harlender lab, she's got a very interesting and multifaceted way of looking at welfare issues like that. So one of the things that my project was focusing on was looking at feather pecking sort of as an abnormal behavioral disorder almost, similar to things like obsessive compulsive disorder in humans. So she wanted to look at, so in humans with psychiatric disorders like that, you have something called the microbiome gut-brain axis. So the microbiome in our digestive tract, they produce compounds that sort of can act as neurohormones or neurotransmitters, so that can affect both gut motility and also the brain and therefore behavior as well. So we wanted to start looking into that and look into sort of what kinds of bacteria in the gut of laying hens can sort of trigger certain behaviors, whether there's any correlations in any of those things. So my research project for undergrad was sort of just kind of laying the groundwork for that, because it's not really something that anyone else is really looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you had some live animal studies, I guess, that would have taken place at Arkel? Mm-hmm. And then what was the study design?
So that one I didn't actually do the live animal study for, so that one was sort of afterwards. I was looking at the videos we had like the segments of the guts that were taken from euthanized laying hens. But for the live animal component of that, I think that was done the year prior to when I started my work specifically. So my understanding of it is that the laying hens, they were divided into a control group and a probiotics group. So obviously the probiotics group received, it was a lactobacillus strain of bacteria. So we were just seeing, so altering the gut microbiome of the laying hens by providing this probiotic or not. Will that affect their overall microbiome profile in their gut, and does that have, or can that be correlated with certain levels of feather pecking behavior?
Mm-hmm. And so what did you find?
So far, my project specifically looked at do laying hens that have shown to have different levels of feather pecking behavior. So we call them high and low feather peckers. Did they have, to begin with, different patterns of gut motility within their ceca, is what we started with. So my project found that, yes, there is actually a difference. The high feather pecking individuals do have different patterns of motility within their ceca compared to hens that aren't as prone to feather pecking.
Wow, okay, very
Yeah.
interesting. And so what were the age of the hens and what was the breed?
The age, I can't remember specifically off the top of my head.
Were adults or pullets?
Adults, yeah. I think when the actual live animal observation started, though, they were pullets, but by the time they were euthanized for the cecum study, they were adults. And as for the breed and strain, so our lab specifically works with white leghorn strains that are artificially selected for high or low levels of feather pecking behavior. So someone each year will have a team that looks through all these videos of the hens, see how much feather pecking behavior they're actually engaging in, and then we'll use that to select individual hens and then the roosters to breed with each other to try and produce these lines that produce or show high or low levels of feather pecking behavior.
Right. Yeah, and as you mentioned, this can be a pretty severe issue for the industry.
Yeah.
So give us a bit of a background on the industry side of things. How often is it seen, and what are some of the implications of feather pecking in layer flocks or breeder flocks, or any poultry, I guess, that could be affected by this?
My understanding of it is that feather pecking is a serious issue predominantly with laying hens. So especially, it can happen in the conventional single cage systems as well, but especially as we move towards non-conventional caging systems where the hens will actually be able to interact with one another, that's definitely puts them at a bigger risk of engaging in feather pecking behavior. So it is going to be something that's going to be more of a concern to egg farmers especially, and just helping them consider the welfare of their animals and then all the social perceptions of that and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who are the major contributors or funders of this project?
NSERC and Egg Farmers of Ontario, I believe.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Have there been any collaborative approaches with other labs that this project or that you've been involved in?
Not with this project specifically, but the project I'm actually working on this summer with my turkey behavior. We're actually sort of collaborating, I think, with Dr. Christine Bays, who's also part of the Department of Animal Biosciences, but she's with the Center for the Genetic Improvement of Livestock. So one of her PhD candidates, when I'm not doing my behavioral tests with the turkeys, she'll be looking at how the rate of feather growth in these turkey poults, and also compare it to their blood corticosterone levels. And I think at the very end, we're also getting Dr. Shayan Sharif to get some samples of their breast tissue and look at that as well, although I'm not specifically sure what they're looking for.
Right, so yeah, a lot of collaboration, and that's pretty
Yeah.
neat. And so tell us a little bit more about this turkey project. What age are you starting with, and what are you looking for in their behavior?
So I got the turkey poults at 1 day of age, super adorable. And we're looking specifically, so we're doing something called a reversal learning task. So they'll be going into what's called a Y maze. So they enter at the start of the maze and there's 2 arms. And at the end of each of these 2 arms is a colored panel, either blue or yellow, and each turkey poult gets assigned before the experiment to one of those colors. And that's the color that they have to associate with a food reward at the end of the maze. So the first sort of phase of this task is that they learn the first color association. So let's say we have assigned one of the turkeys to the blue color. The next step is to basically see, okay, how quickly can they learn to reverse that learning paradigm. So if they were blue before, now they have to learn to go for the yellow for the food reward in the maze, and vice versa. So it's just looking at how quickly can they make that reverse sort of association in their heads.
Okay. And so you've already started this project?
Yep.
And how far along are you now?
So the turkeys are just over a month old now. I've been training them every single day for the last 2 weeks or so. And it's really impressive because a lot of them are picking it up pretty quickly and others not so much, but that's to be expected in any group of animals or even people. You know, people or everyone has different paces of learning that they go at. So it's just the same with turkeys.
And how much longer are you going to be holding these turkeys and running these tests on them for?
So we're expecting the first phase of training to go on for a couple more weeks. We're looking at mid-July. And then they'll get a rest phase, basically. And then the reversal learning phase will probably start within August. And then at the end of that is when they'll be sacrificed so that we can look at things like their liver and their breast tissue and all of that.
Excellent. And so what's been the most exciting part of this project to you so far or towards the end?
To me, the most exciting part has been just like working with the turkeys and training them to do these tasks, because I've got a background in animal and especially bird training, so lots of people who might not be as familiar with turkeys on sort of an individual basis, they'll sort of say that, oh, they're dumb, they're slow, they're never going to learn this, but getting to work with them every day on a very personal level and seeing the progress that they make is something that really, you know, drives me and something that I like to see and do. So
yeah, I've heard that before. Everyone called turkeys dumb, but I've had experience with them, and I don't call them dumb. I call them curious.
Yeah,
you know? They're just curious animals, and they have a lot more personality than chickens. I find them.
Yeah.
Even at a younger age, they'll follow you around, and older ages too, right? So they really get to know who you are. So, so what general conclusions are you hoping to find from your work?
So for this project specifically, we're trying to see if nutrition will have any impact on how well they're able to learn this behavioral task or not. So we're actually feeding them low protein, high energy versus higher protein or like more standard levels of protein in their diets. So the idea is that the low protein, high energy diets, so energy is mainly metabolized by the liver, but it's a very protein-dependent process. So if you don't have the proteins for the liver to process and export all of that energy, and especially in the form of fat, what happens is that there can be damage that can be done to the liver, and that affects the ability of the liver to process certain components like ammonia especially. And ammonia, once it gets into the blood, it can cross what's called the blood-brain barrier and act as a neurotoxin in there. And in studies in humans and mice, they found that you know, these or certain higher energy diets can actually cause increases in blood concentrations of ammonia and cause cognitive deficits that way. So at the end, we're hoping to see that the birds that are on the lower protein diets will learn this task more slowly compared to those on the control diet.
Okay, very interesting. And so then if we want to expand this to the poultry industry, this will have implications on the nutrition programs that we set out for them and the welfare down the line based on the nutrition that's provided. And this might not only be for the Canadian industry, but also for global as well. Very cool.
Yeah.
And what's next for you after this project? Are you planning on publishing this in any specific journals or presenting it at any specific conferences?
I think for sure we are planning on publishing the results, regardless of what they might turn out to be. I'm not sure if we have a specific journal in mind yet. I know there was a master's student who did a basically identical project, but with broiler chickens in our lab, and I think hers got published in one of the veterinary journals, but I'm not really sure what exactly the name of it was. And in terms of presenting the results, we're likely looking at the Seesaw conference or symposium that happens here on campus next year.
What's Seesaw?
Campbell Center for the Study of Animal Welfare.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you looking forward to in terms of careers?
So that's kind of up in the air at the moment. So as I said, I'm still in, or just finished my first phase of veterinary school. So once that's all done, I'm either deciding between right now practicing as a exotics veterinarian specializing with birds, or I am definitely considering entering the poultry industry as a poultry veterinarian as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're always looking for more poultry vets.
Oh yeah, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially energetic ones who've got a wide array of experience. So we're going to be happy to have you. Okay, and this has been our wrap up with Isabelle Kwon. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.